We're so excited to be back with you.
That's right.
You know, Pastor talked about that juice. I got my green juice. I'm super excited. We're super excited to talk to you about healing and health as a believer.
That's right.
Welcome to the Audience of One.
Well, you know what? The last time we were together, I was talking about the way you want to have your fruits and vegetables and how important it is to have organics versus this conventional because of the chemicals that's in the fruits and vegetables today. It's not good for the body. So it doesn't bode well to be trying to eat healthy and then yet getting the chemicals in it. As we was talking about how the chemicals is what causes a lot of the sicknesses in the bodies.
Absolutely.
Now, I do want to say this, is that the things that we're saying, I'm not a medical doctor, she's not a medical doctor. We're just speaking of things based on our experience, based on the literatures that we've read. And so you should also do your own research and get the information for yourself so that you yourself will be convinced by whatever you do and don't have to make it like you are a doctor, but these are things that we've heard of, testimonies, the testimonies. And then you got to also consider the fact that when God did make man and put him in a garden, they were eating from the tree. So it is known that fruits and vegetables is good for the body. That's just a fact.
Scientifically.
Absolutely.
Scientifically
Absolutely.
correct. When you talk about the pesticides, you know,
Yes.
when you talk about that, when you go to the grocery store, you go to the produce area,
Yes.
the apples are shiny.
Yes, they are.
And they're shiny because
They have like the wax on there.
chemicals.
Chemicals.
And so because they want it to sell. And so it's shiny. And that's when we talk about pesticides, when we talk about chemicals on the food and why organic is the better selection is because you don't have those added things.
Absolutely.
You know? And there is, like you said, if you can't buy organic or you know don't have that, then there are fruit washers.
There are fruit washers, and then there are
things
ways
you can
to get
soak your vegetables.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
There's ways to get the stuff off, and so that's something that one should definitely find out how they can work on that. But I want to get back to what you were just saying about when I had become sick at that time, and it just so happened you had just bought a juicer. It's when juicing started to come out. It was doing the infomercials and those type of things, and so we ended up getting the juicer. And man, the first time we had juice, it had like an apple and lemon. Man, it was like lemonade, and we was like, whoa, we got like hooked on that. I was going to the store and buying up the apples and the lemons, and then we added a pear, and then we came with carrots and apples, and
Great.
boy, that stuff was really good. And we found out how good it is for us. Remember how I had done a juice fast?
Yes.
At that time, like,
Yes.
man, I'm gonna see if I can do this. And at that time, I did like 30 days.
Yes, that's right.
And it was amazing.
And the truth of the matter is, you took those steps just to take charge of your health. I mean, we were believers, we were Christians,
That's right.
you were a praying man, but you took steps that were in line with natural laws.
That is correct.
And within all them doctor's appointments, all these things that they were trying to do, just you taking that authority, your health began to spring forth speedily.
And as my health began to spring forth speedily, I started still thinking about that job. I started thinking like, if I get better, I gotta go back to that job, so I better ride this one out. So remember, I did, and then after that, at that time, just want to throw this on a side note. That's when I started the business. Remember, I started doing real estate investing, and when I got better, I didn't have to go back because the business was coming along
Yeah.
good.
And but you know what? That's such a good point. And this for all the listeners and everything. You only get one life to live, and if you're gonna work a job, make sure you like your job.
You should like it.
Make sure you love what it is that you do. Make sure that it don't feel like work. When you go to work and and you're just happy to be there, then you're doing probably what you're born to do. But when it's just a chore and stress, and people do it just for the money,
Yeah.
but they negate that it's devastating on their body or
That's
causing them mental anguish or problems. And then being in stressful environments. If you're dealing with people, the boss is crazy and they're acting and treating you all kinds of ways, that's all very difficult on the body.
But another thing I want to say, and we'll get back to about the food part as well. But I want to add this: getting a good amount of sleep. Sometimes people don't sleep enough.
That's right.
And
That's right.
they're told that, okay, they slept 8 hours. Oh, what's wrong with you? You're being lazy. No, you're not. You're not being lazy when you sleep. You gotta have body. Your body gotta rest.
That's when the body actually recovers.
There you go.
When that body goes to sleep, it's not digesting.
That's
So
right.
it's literally fasting.
Yes.
So it's not digesting. And while you're sleeping, the body is now going to repair
That's
and
right.
rebuild. Those 1 trillion cells have to be worked on every
right.
day.
That's right.
And they want to revive, refurbish. And it's looking. Anything that's broke, anything that's tore, it's starting to work. You're sleeping. All that work is happening.
That's something that you said about your fasting. That's where we get the term breakfast.
Yeah, that's
It
right.
means
Break
break
the
the
fast.
fast.
That's right.
That's what it means. The body, we found out, the body has 3 cycles that it works through. You have the time from in 24 hours, from 4 a.m. to 12 p.m. That's the time when the body is doing elimination. And that's the time when one should be doing more of the fruit eating. That we had read the book called
Fit for Life.
Fit for Life.
Yeah.
That was the first
Harvey
book we learned.
Diamond. Yeah.
Absolutely. First book we ever read about
Health.
healthy eating.
Yeah, that's right.
And so we found out that when one eats more of the fruit between that 4 a.m. to 12 p.m., that's why you have more elimination. When you wake up, you eliminate more. Well, if you add fruit at that time, your body is going to eliminate a lot of the waste. And then from the time of 12 p.m. till 8 p.m., that's the time to ingest the food, take in food. And we found out that, when it comes to meat, you shouldn't be doing meat and potatoes.
Yeah.
Because what is that? The acid in the stomach.
The alkaline and acid, they cancel each other out.
That's right.
So that's why it literally, when a person eats, say, steak and a baked potato, it literally sits in the stomach because it's not even able to digest properly.
That's right.
Because the alkaline and the acid are fighting each other and canceling each other out.
Yeah.
And it literally rots,
That's
sits in
right.
that system and it rots. And that's why when people go to the restaurant, it's horrific.
That's right. You think somebody died up in there. For sure. And then another thing is that they'll have a breath odor. Because
So
not all breath odors are from the fact that's in their mouth.
It's
from
coming
their
the gut, right?
That's
right.
so, and one thing you
And
find
so if people do want to eat a great steak, grass-fed,
grass-fed,
grass-finished steak, eat it with a vegetable. And if you're going to have a baked potato, eat it with a vegetable versus eating it with meat. So if you have steak and broccoli, steak and spinach.
Or you can do anything that's got, when it comes to fish can go with potatoes. Because fish digests through your system so much quicker. But usually if a person is going to eat, whenever a person sit down to eat, you should always have some raw salad. Because salad is so good for your body.
Every day.
Every day. And so one of the things that we had learned from that is regarding that type of way of eating and stuff.
That was a life changer. And it was really just an eye opener because we were so young. And for you to face sickness at such a young age, you just realize, bro, this is... So let me ask you this, because you're a pastor, you're minister the gospel, when people think that they're sick and they're saying, the Lord is working something out in me, or, maybe this is God's will. Does God cause sickness?
No, he doesn't. Because if God caused sickness, then there would be sickness in heaven. What happens is that people read in the Old Testament, and they'll be reading where God did this with the Egyptians. God brought this curse on them. God did this, but God did that. But see, what they miss out on is that when the Bible was translated from the Hebrew into the English, in the Hebrew, it has a cause and effect. And so the Bible was translated into the effect rather than the cause of it.
Right.
And so the way it should be reading is God permitted this to happen. God allowed this to happen. Not so much as just God brought it on them. For instance, if a person is breaking spiritual laws, then there are consequences to breaking those spiritual laws. And some of it can show up in the physical body. Give an example. Remember when the man that was that Jesus had healed, and it was the man at the pool of Bethesda,
right?
And it was in the 6th chapter of John, and the man had been in that condition for 38 years. 38 years he was in that condition, and so after he had received his healing, Jesus found him and told him, "Go and sin no more, lest something worse come upon you."
Yeah.
And so many times people are getting things that's worse. They'll be sick with headaches. Like a person get a headache, they have to ask the question, why is their head hurt? Like for myself, for instance, if I rarely eat fried foods. But if I eat something that's just not right, if it's got too much sodium, or if it's just fried and the wrong stuff, and I wake up, my head is hurting, I said, man, something I ate wrong. Because I know that as long as I'm eating stuff healthy, then I don't experience all the headache. Unless when we first go into a fast. Like we do a fast, and the first 3 days in fasting, you have your head hurting, and that's only because the toxins are leaving out again.
They sting twice. Toxins sting twice.
That's right.
They sting going in, and they sting going out, and it could be a headache, it could be a pimple breakout, it can be all kinds of things, from diarrhea, all these kinds of things. Absolutely. Is because the body is really trying to get rid of it and have the ability to rebuild. And when you think of what you faced, we knew from the gate God wasn't in this. Like, we knew that it was never a thing of, why is God letting this happen to me? Things can be set in motion and lack of knowledge, not even knowing.
Absolutely. Like what we just said before, proper rest. You got to rest. And people should be taking vacations. Like, you got people that take a vacation just to, they work their job, they get a week off, and all they do is clean up their house. Or go down to a family reunion. That's not a vacation. We learned that, if you play hard, if you got to work hard, you should play hard.
That's right.
And playing hard means you should go on a vacation. Your body needs to be resting.
That's right.
And you should go on vacation. It's good for the soul.
That's right.
Just all of
the sun.
The sun. You get all that vitamin D.
Yeah, that's right.
And being able to be served. You go to the hotel and people come in and clean up.
They can do all the cleaning up.
Like you like to go to places where there's just tropical with the water.
Have to.
That's right.
Go where there's oceans. And it's amazing what that air, because we went to places where the air is so pure. When we grew up in the Motor City, so there's always toxins in the air because of factory works and things like that, and all of those air elements in the air. And then you go away where they have no factories. It's nothing but ocean and pure salt water.
That's right.
It's a totally different in your whole breathing, the whole way you feel. It's amazing.
The food is different. As a matter of fact, even at nighttime, you can see all the way through. I didn't even know so many stars could be in the sky, almost like galaxies of stars.
That's right. You can see them.
But all of that has to do with vacation, and so.
And putting the temple in a position to rest. And it's a violation. I call it a Sabbath violation, because even God rested.
That's right.
And the body, and he gave instructions about to honor the Sabbath, and that's physically for your physical body. So if you just did that, just one day a week, that's 52 days a year,
Yes.
that body is supposed to kind of take a break from everything.
Absolutely.
Mentally, physically, a break.
It needs it. It
Yeah.
needs it.
Yeah.
You know, something else that we were just talking about as far as the vacation. You know, I don't want to keep talking about it because it's going to make me want to go. You know, I'm already on the edge, and I just want to go on vacation.
Yes, sir.
Just
Yes,
you
sir.
saying
Say
that.
the word.
It just made me just think
Say the
about
word.
some
Look,
vacation.
we could just get on a plane and we buy clothes when we get there.
Well, then I'll just shut this thing down right now and go on vacation then. And so that's all. I'm just saying that it really gets to you.
Yeah.
But
Because we've trained ourselves that you have to rest. And for those of you that are listening to us, it's very important, and we can't underestimate it enough, because no really is a complete sentence, and people are stretched beyond whether with their kids, with their grandkids, with their job, with the finances, with their house, the roof, the garden. It's so much coming at people, and they never take the time, pull the car over, get out and rest.
Absolutely. So then, getting back to as far as the proper way of eating, you know, one of the things I just want to say this to all of our audience and people that's listening and that are watching also is this. You hear us talking about this healthy eating, but I want you to be paying close attention to all our podcasts, all that we'll be doing going forward. And you're going to start seeing a different look on us, because we made decisions in our own life, and it has begun to bring the body down, you know, getting more fit.
Yeah.
You know, we've been married for over 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, the thing is, and when we both first got married, we both was more fit. And sometimes you get so busy that you can neglect your physical body.
That's right.
And you don't allow your work and all the activities of your life to cause you not to take care of the most important part, and that is your physical body, your spirit man. You know, like just like your spirit man have to be fed the word of God.
That's right.
The natural part of you needs to be fed a healthy diet also.
Yeah.
And so when we talk about why are Christians sick, is that so often Christians think that prayer and you know, hands laid on them can take care of all the sicknesses, where in fact they are the reason why they are causing the sickness. You know, the reason why people are not always seeing their healing coming forth. The Bible talks about how healing will spring forth speedily.
Yeah.
Well, why is it not happening speedily?
Yeah.
Well, it's just like this. If you have was hammering something and you hit your finger, and all of a sudden your finger get injured, and then you go back and do the same thing and holding it the same way, not and taking the same hammer and keep hitting your finger, you'll never see your finger be healed because you keep injuring it. And so often people are injuring their bodies because of the stuff they keep putting in it.
Yeah. And Pastor, you know, we've been in ministry for a long time, and I've laid hands on I don't know how many people in my life in ministry, and you as well. And how many people we've seen get healed. I can tell you of case after case of people who received healing, who saw the power of God move in their life, the cancer went in remission and so on and so forth. But when they went back to doing the physical things, breaking natural law, that thing came back.
And Jesus
and
said,
they're thinking, you know, I thought God healed me, you know,
right.
But they don't realize that they're taking the hammer
Absolutely.
and hitting their own hand.
Well, that's
over
what
and over.
Jesus said. He says that go and don't miss it no more. That's what it means, sin, missing the bullseye. Don't go and miss the bullseye anymore. Least, what he said, so something worse will come upon them. Mm-hmm. And so it's so important to stay out of that area as far as you get better, you notice that you're getting better. Don't just attribute it. All could be, yes, praying for you is one part, But it's like this. I've heard that when people would go to these healing ministries, like Oral Roberts and Benny Hinn and Catherine Coleman, many of them, they would get healed in those meetings.
Miracles.
And these miracles. And then they was not able to hold on to their healing, not only just because of the word, but it was the stuff they was doing also from a nutritional standpoint. They would end up causing the same things in their body.
And so when we look at reasons why Christians are sick, lack of knowledge is one of them.
Yes.
Rejected knowledge is another one of them. Unconfessed sin.
Yes.
People have sin in their life. They're opening up all these doors, and don't realize that it's causing sickness to the body. The Bible says that if you sow to the flesh,
you're going to reap corruption.
In the flesh.
In the flesh.
In the flesh is
That's
where
right.
that corruption is reaped. And then what you've been talking about is the violation of natural laws. And so this is really exciting. And I'm so glad that our audience is getting to hear this. And we're glad. We're super glad.
So I want to say this to you. Make sure you join
Keep
us for
tuning
next
in.
week because we got so much more we want to share with you.
Yeah.
And until then,
Thank you for joining the audience of one.